From the beginning, the images we have created have stood like mile markers on the road of human progress. What once was is now because artists made it so. They captured a moment and made it eternal. Where did they get such power? Well, it was given to them, passed down through the ages, master to student, each building upon the other. John Stobart, one of the most accomplished artists of our time, says, "I don't think the greatest works have yet been done." And it's true, but only if the secrets are given to yet another generation. The first secret is this: it is not in the hand, it is in the eye. Follow us and we'll show you that once you learn to look at the world differently, it becomes a different world, one in which nature becomes the greatest teacher of all. On the island of Jersey in the English Channel, John Stobart paints a scene reminiscent of the subjects that attracted him to painting. Here we learn why every artist yearns to pass on his or her skills to another generation.
As someone who paints ships, I'm fascinated by this vessel. It's a catamaran, isn't it?
Well, that's right. It's a new wave-piercing catamaran.
Yeah.
It's 49 meters long. We're doing about 33 to 34 knots at the moment. It's about 40 miles an hour. We just come from Weymouth, which is about 90 miles, and we're going to get to Jersey in about 3.5 hours.
So from England to France, it's about, must be about 120 miles.
That's right, 120 miles. In fact, Jersey's only about 10 miles, 12 miles off the French coast.
Oh, right. One of the most important aspects of the signature of the artist, the characteristics that form the recognizable thing about an artist, is of course the choice of subject matter. After all, what you choose to paint is a reflection of the artist. And in my own case, when I was young, I was very, very fascinated, as I still am, by ships. I'm just absolutely consumed by the interest in ships and shipping and harbors and shorelines and that sort of thing. You've got to choose your own niche and find a little place that's yours alone. Sometimes I find it's a great idea to just get away sometime and appreciate the plants and look at this honeysuckle. And the world around you, look at the trees and in a nice place that's a certain amount of solitude, and you can really learn things by just looking around you and appreciating it. In the process of searching for a subject in a place like this, you learn so much about the way of life here. It's quite different from the urban life in America or near a big city. Actually, what happens is that when an artist selects a subject that they're excited about and wants to follow, after all, in so many cases, as in the medical profession and whatnot, you have to a certain extent, specialize, because then you become known for that certain specialty. And when you choose a subject, you're choosing an audience. What a thing that is for an artist. When you create an audience and you intermingle with that audience and you find out that they like your work and tell you why and all the rest of it, what a wonderful amount of food for the soul that is. Just terrific, absolutely terrific. All along the coast there are intimate little settlements and harbors. What a variety there is here. I could paint this scene right there with this nice rock bank going out into sea. Now this subject appealed to me for certain distinct reasons. I was hoping to find here in Jersey a nice group of buildings with the sea behind it, because that's typical Jersey. Because it's got a hill all the way around, and I wanted to be up on top of the hill looking through buildings down to the sea. And that's exactly what I've found here. Yes, I want to establish the position of that house with the gable end, which was the thing that attracted me to this view. I just want to position that as near as I can as to where I want it, which is right there, and just how much I want to put in here. I think we'll be coming down there with that. One of the things that a young artist finds as he progresses and gets into it more is that there's another world out there, and the deeper you get into it, the more exciting it becomes, because you see the potential and the possibilities in it. That'll work fine. I just want to know where I'm going with the sky. So I want to just get that color in there. Doesn't have to be absolutely accurate right this second. Basically it's a gray, it's hardly a blue. I think as one does progress, you do move into another world. It comes with the concentration. And you almost become part of a world that you've created by this sense of concentration and reaching for the things, and actually unknowingly you see things happening before you, and you see the progress of this concentrating on your subject, and you see it unfolding right on the canvas, and the canvas then becomes a description of this world you're in. Oh, it's to a large extent therapeutic, because your other problems just drift away, and you're in your own little world, and you're going to make things happen, and you've got the excitement of knowing that there's great potential there. Now the hill is again towards the blue. Well, it's bluey gray. The young artist has to realize that there isn't a free ride actually here. There's an apprenticeship. It's almost like exercise. If you've got a muscle in your arm and you want to lift things every day, that'll stay in shape. Painting's like it's like a muscle in the brain, where if you don't exercise it regularly, it's just not going to happen. You absolutely have to keep with it. You've got to reach a level of consistency of effort. When you get into this next world that you're aiming towards, and when you reach that stage, I mean, anything can happen. It's possible to create a masterpiece. If you've done all your dues and you've done all these other things and you're excited about it and consumed about it, it's possible to create a masterpiece. There's a little bit of purple in that lower part of the, that's it. The lower part of the beach. It would be wonderful if I can hit some of these colors right on now. Now I'm going to block in the water. Again, trying to get that right on first time. When you half close your eyes, it reduces all the detail down to shades, and you can see which shade is darker than the others. It pushes up all the silhouettes. Now just see what's happening with this house, which I'm going to have about there. Again, this perspective in the roof of the house, that's the bottom edge of it there. Top. And the next roof. Next roof with the sun on it. Mount Orgueil, the castle behind me, dates back to the 13th century and sits behind the little village of Gori. And just a wonderful little harbour. And what I love is the arable lands. Every inch of this island is producing potatoes or some crop. Lovely, lovely place. There are three things that are really working for me here. It's the medium that I'm working in, the artist, and the subject I've chosen. And it's a combination of those three. They've got to work in unison. The oil medium would not be right for some people. It almost tells you what you can do and what you can't do. You can't just do anything you want, and you've got to learn what you can do with it and what you can't do with it. Now the fact is that the longer I work with oil, the more it'll let me do. But it's a matter of persevering and not being irritated by the limitations of it, but working through them and making it do for you what you want it to do. The greatest advantage of painting outdoors is the understanding the area you're in. If I hadn't walked down the hill here and I'd just come and taken a picture of this, I wouldn't have any idea that there was a nice little road going in back behind these cottages. But as I know that, and I've been and looked at it, I can now use that to my advantage. Another thing that's happening is that I can hear the cars on the street. And I, therefore, am reminded constantly that there's a road there. So in effect, the sense of sound is added to the painting because I'm experiencing it. That somehow gets into the painting and is translated to the mind of the viewer. I don't know how that happens, but I know it does. Now, I wouldn't normally work on the detail of that house at this stage, but I'm going to because I know the sun's going to go off it. Just as I sit here, I see the shadow of the chimney on the roof. It was there, now it's almost parallel to the side of the roof, so this white surface is much less white than it was when we came, and that was the thing that I wanted to paint. Delicate touches on that one. Got to hold your breath. Hold your breath for a while and hope for the best. That's good. Now the three little windows, again, they're lots of reflected light in those. 1, 2, 3. Got to get this in now because the sun's moving rapidly and it won't change very much of the rest of the painting, but it'll certainly change this. There we are. Nice little dark. This is the feature of the painting, and this is why I want to get it in before it changes. Holding my breath again. That goes over that little gable, and each little gable has got its own little shadow, like that. And the next one, and the next one. Drawing in the windows. And the two lower windows. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the lower windows. 1, 2, and the door. 3, 4. They have little shutters on, which I'll just suggest there. Requires holding your breath for a while there. Whew. Now, that's the other edge of that. There we are, we've pretty well got that house established now. A little dark line along the roof will pick out the peak of the tiling, which I see is quite dark. There we are. When we're very young and we're aspiring to be an artist, you put other artists that you've seen the work of, you put them on pedestals and they become unreachable, and you almost thirst for meeting somebody like that, to ask them just a few simple questions about how do you do this and how do you do that. One of those people for me was Norman Wilkinson, who was always esteemed in my eyes. And he was a wonderful artist, and he used to appear in calendars and things like that. Everywhere you'd see Norman Wilkinson's work. I think for me, having a mentor of that type was a tremendous boost, and would be for any artist. But I think that begins at home, where the parent should realize their responsibility to encourage I remember when people were invited to our house, my father would say, John, Aunt Flossie or whoever it was, would like to see your latest drawings. You're already almost a professional artist because they are looking at something that they couldn't see anywhere else. They're looking at your work, and you've already created an audience. You're halfway to where you want to be. And so this is where one gets the foundation of one's encouragement is at home. And the parent of a young artist, any parents of any kids that like to fiddle about with a pencil or whatever, should always be encouraged at every second of the way. One of the things I think of as I'm sitting here is that it would be nice if some young painter wander by and show a fascination for painting by asking me some interesting questions. And of course there's always a lot of pleasure in giving people advice when you know that that advice that you're giving them is going to help them. That would be a fun thing to do. It's these trees and the darkness that is making this thing look sunny and bright. I think we're looking pretty good now. There's not an awful lot that I'll be doing to this now. This is all an outdoor painting should be, and if anybody tells you that you haven't finished it, tell them to go and jump in a lake, because this is what it should be. I think that the young person would do well to seek out professional artists that they may know in their own area. It gives a sense of fulfillment to them that they are being asked these questions, and they then get the pleasure out of giving, as well as the student gets the pleasure out of taking. As I think about the progress that I had, it was very important to have these tips handed down from one generation down to me. And they do so much for a young artist to hear this from somebody who does it for a living. It's almost like rocks coming down from the Sermon on the Mount. You couldn't possibly get a better thing. As that person now talking to a younger artist, I get tremendous pleasure out of giving tips, passing tips along. Just as the person who I'm giving the tips to gets pleasure out of getting them from me. It's a two-way street. And don't feel nervous about approaching them in whatever way is convenient, because it's a matter of you as a young person joining this fraternity. After all, any artist that's worth a damn knows that he has a responsibility almost to pass down his knowledge from his generation to the younger generation.